Good evening, everyone. We're just waiting on people to join in. They are starting to trickle in now. So I'll just take the next few minutes to let people in. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let me know if you attended session one or if session two is your first time joining. I do have the continuous chat on. I don't know if you can see it on your end, so you might be able to see the chat from session one. So if you're like, oh my goodness, there's stuff that's being said in there that's from last week. That is from last week. Good evening, everyone. Just letting people in and finishing up my sandwich. Y'all know I'm pregnant, so I need to eat right at the start of something so I don't get hungry throughout. Ooh, I love it. I'm seeing some session ones. Good evening. Good evening. Let me know if this is your first time joining tonight or if you were in session one in the chat. hmm Hey, Brittany. Hey, Joyce. Hey, Casey. I remember y'all from yesterday. Hey, everyone. First time tonight. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome. I'll make sure to do a little brief introduction. Also, Tiffany, did you see the link for last week's session? I can drop it in the chat really quick if you did not.
Yep, I did see the link.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure that was out. You did the replay. Perfect, Patty. Waiting room, add more people. Our girl Crystal is here. She was hilarious last week. Trying to hurry up and swallow this food. So I can get on camera. Can y'all see me? More people are rolling in. I'm just going to let them continue to roll in. Thank you for letting me know you can see me, Patty. Thank you. Let me know in the comments, how did the chapters 4 through 7 go for you? How did it go for you? And let me know, excuse me, which chapter do you want to talk about tonight? Like, if you had one chapter, you're like, oh, we need to kind of revisit this and go over this or expound on this. Or if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Of course, we're going to touch off for 7, 8, 9. So chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7. There we go. Hello. Four chapters. And we just do a high level overview and then I point out which ones I want you to make sure that you um, some tips that I make sure that you implement into your strategy, and then we get into the questions, which is kind of like my favorite part. It was a really good time last week. Um, Oh, good evening. Good evening. Let me know as you come in. Say hello and let me know if you were here last week or if this is your first session that you're attending. So if you attended session one, write session one. If it's your first time tonight, write first time tonight. So either say, I was in session one, this is my first time tonight. Good evening, everyone. Session one. Hey, Crystal. Hi, Q's phone. Hey, KM225. I was in session one. Love it. Love it. Latrice. Glad to see y'all are back. Yeah, we had fun last week. We're gonna have some more fun this week. Does everybody have their books and also their financial planner? Financial planner. I can pin myself to where y'all can see me. Let's see. Pin and spotlight for everyone. There we go. More people coming in. We're gonna get started. Oh, it is 7:05. All right, we're gonna get started right now. So I'm gonna turn off where it does that ding. And where do I have to go to do that? There we go. So I'm gonna turn off the play to join and leave sound. This is being recorded, so you can watch the replay. Great job, Casey, for picking up your book and your planner last week. Let me leave my chat open. I'll be on screen a lot more this week, kind of chatting and talking. We don't have all that housekeeping like we did last week. All right, so let's jump right in. So we are going to be talking about chapters 4 through 7 tonight, the Getting Good with Money book. And then we're going to be tackling how to utilize the Ultimate Financial Planner so we can go hand in hand, all right? So make sure if you have not, you pick up your copy. If you check your email or in the book club's app, you will see the address, which is 618 Jefferson Avenue Southeast. If you are in the Grand Rapids area, where you can pick up your free copy of both. You have to be a King County resident in order to get it for free. Shout out to 1,000 Families of Color for purchasing both for every attendee who signs up. All right. Give me a 1 in the chat if you read chapters 4 through 7. Give me a 2 in the chat if you have not, but you plan on doing it soon. All right. 1 or a 2. I see some ones. I see a 2. Okay. She said she on chapter 6. All right. Okay, I'm seeing some 1 and some 2s. Okay. So we're going to do the same format and like the same layout as we did last week, where I go through kind of chapter by chapter. What are the highlights that I feel like as a financial coach, you should make sure that you highlight, you should implement, things like that. Let's talk about it. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand and I can have you to come off mute and then we can go on to the next chapters. All right. We got 4 chapters to cover tonight and the financial planner. And I can see when people are coming in and out, so I'll let them in as needed. All right. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So chapter 4 is all about, let me go to the table of contents so I could just see it all at once. I love that she has them broken down. Chapter 4 is going to be about the debt repayment and getting out of debt. All right. So remember, we talked about what financial wholeness means, where everything, including your finances, is working together for your good. And so the author, Tiffany Alicia, she wrote 10 ways, like these 10, broke down 10 steps that you need to have in your financial plan in order to create like a winning financial plan. All right. And I totally support it and back it. A lot of the things that she teaches, I teach as well. That's why I am obsessed with this book. And 1,000 Families of Color, which is a nonprofit I partner with, is obsessed with it as well, because it's just like a pocket-sized guide to creating your financial plan, right? Based on what your income is, your goals, your desires, the season of life you're in, everything, all right? So last week, if you have not been with us, last week we talked about the budgeting part. Remember, monthly budgeting, savings, and we talked about, chapter 1 was financial wholeness, budgeting, and saving. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about debt, credit, increasing your income, and retirement and wealth. All right. These are each a different chapter. And I suggest that you go back and read it. For those of you who have not read it and highlighted it and seen what works for you, she gives a lot of tips and tricks and nuances and strategies throughout these chapters that we can't possibly get to in an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, right? Tonight. So definitely this does not supplement you not reading your book. All right, so give me a 2 in the chat if you are going to read chapters 4 through 7. If you have not already, make sure you read it. This is your commitment. I see some 2s. Perfect. I see these 2s. I see these 2s. Perfect. All right. So for chapter 4, getting out of debt or digging yourself out of debt, I really like the do that she talks about, right? Identifying your debt. We're on page 87. Identifying your debt, restructuring your debt, choosing a pay down plan, automate the pay down plan, right? So if we go into it and we dig into it on page 88, identifying your debt, under that section, you definitely need to write down what is the name of the debt, the total amount owed, the minimum payment that you have due, the interest rate. All right. So how much is it? Whether it's a credit card, whether it's a personal loan, whatever it is, right? Then she gives you on page 90 how to calculate the annual percentage rate. And then also the status of the debt. Is it current? Is it active? Is it in collections? Is it defaulted? What is it paid off? Like once you get it paid off, I want you to keep track of that, all right? Now, in your financial planner, really quick, if you go to one of the first pages, there's a page for you to write your short-term and long-term financial goal for the year, because this is a 12-month financial planner. You will see that there's a debt repayment plan worksheet. And you will see there's an area for you to write the company name, the interest rate, current balance, minimum payment due, and then you can go on and use the debt snowball or the debt avalanche, and we'll kind of talk about that from the book. You get to decide based on which debt you're on, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but you already have a place in your financial planner in order to write that. All right, so I want y'all to notate that. Glenda said, love this. Me too. Me too. That's why I'm like, this book just works so hand in hand with what she teaches already. Even though I wrote that book in 2000, I created this in 2014. She didn't even have her book out yet. So, second thing, restructure your debt. All right. Negotiating a lower interest rate, transferring your balance. There's ways to get a personal loan, or you could get like a home equity line of credit or something like that. I'll give you an example. I have a client today who has about $20,000 in credit card debt. She came to me with. We started working together. She owns a home. She has about $200,000 of equity in her home. So our plan for her is going to be to open a home equity line of credit, and she banks with a local credit union. We looked on the website. It's about 6% that she can qualify for like a $25,000 home equity line of credit, right? She can qualify for that with her credit score, with her current situation. Most likely, when I'm looking at it, of course, we got to go and get it approved, and we're going next week. And I'm walking her hand in hand through that. But the goal is to transfer that credit card debt into a home equity line of credit, because all of her credit cards are at about 30%. Like one is 29.9%, one is 28.9. They're pretty high, right? And so if she can take advantage of the home equity line of credit and get a 6% home equity line of credit, she'll take $25,000 out, use that to pay off the credit cards in full. Now she can focus on paying off the $20,000 in debt with only 6% interest versus 29.88%. Give me a 1 in the comments if that makes sense. Give me a 1 in the comments if that makes sense. So on page 101, when she talks about getting a personal loan, oftentimes a personal loan will have less of a interest rate than a credit card, okay? So if you are in credit card debt and you read this and you're like, man, it just feels like this interest is insurmountable. If you have a decent enough credit score and also credit profile, you can go with whatever banking institution that you work with, whether it's a bank or a credit union, ask them about opening a personal loan. If you have a home equity line of credit, that's great too. Seeing what your options are to where your goal, your focus is to still pay off that debt, right? The focus is to execute, pay off the debt fast, but you do it with less interest rate, with a less interest rate, right? The other option that she talks about in this chapter is if you have credit card debt, let's say, for example, you have a $15,000 credit card and you're like, oh my goodness, it is the interest rate is at 29.9%. If you qualify, you can open up another credit card, transfer the balance to where it's 0% interest for 18 months, and create a plan to tackle that debt without the interest rate. Without the interest rate. All right. The third thing that I did not see in this, but I've done it in the past, and I know a lot of credit unions do it, not so much banks, but you can ask, okay? So I want you to put this in your notes. If you have, because I didn't see it in here, and this is something I did for my clients and myself years and years ago. So basically, you can, if you have credit card debt, you can contact, and it's still in good standing. Like when I did this, my credit cards and with my clients, their credit cards are not in bad standing. But some banks and credit unions do require that you have missed a payment or two. Some don't. Okay. But what you can do is you can call the company that your credit card is through, and you get on the phone with somebody in customer service and ask for, hey, do you have a hardship program? Do you have a somebody that I can speak to, like a financial advisor or some department that handles if I can't make my payment, what are my other options, right? So you'll get to that department and you'll say, hey, I want to create, like, sign up for your hardship program, that where you have to include your income and your expenses. And then they basically say, okay, based on your income and your expenses, you qualify for this hardship program. And it's not necessarily got to be low income. It's basically that it's tight for you at the moment to pay your current minimum payments on your credit card. So that's the key, right? So you'll submit your income, you'll submit your expenses, you'll talk to like a little financial counselor. And what will happen is they will freeze your credit card for 12 months. So when I did it, and I did it with Navy Federal years ago, this was back in 2013, and they still have the program because I actually did it with a client. So they freeze your credit card for 12 months. You're unable to use it, but while it's frozen, your interest rate drops from the current interest rate it's at now to like 3% or 4% interest. So you can just take that time to have a much lower monthly payment and pay that credit card back. Now, this is advantageous, and sometimes, the credit card company, the financial person you'll get on the phone will be like, well, I don't know if it's a good idea because you won't be able to use your credit card. And it looks like on your credit score that you've maxed out your credit card because it's frozen and it looks like you have no available balance. But you don't care because your goal is not to be worried about your credit at this present time when you're paying off credit card debt. Your goal is to find any tool that helps you pay off that credit card debt fast and with the least amount of interest. Give me a 2 in the comments if this makes sense. So they will freeze your credit card. It will drop your interest rate to 3%, 5%, whatever that company does. And then you just focus on, because we talked about that noodle budget last week. We talked about minimizing and temporarily bringing down those expenses so you can focus on paying off debt. You just crush that credit card for as long and hard as possible during that 12-month period so you can take advantage of that low interest rate. Now, when that time is over, usually it's like a 12-month program, and then your interest rate will go back to the same amount, let's say 28%, 30%, whatever the market is and whatever that card has for interest rate. It'll go back after a year and it'll get unfrozen and you'll be able to access the credit card again. Your credit score will go back up, everything all set within that, after that year. But it just gives you some breathing room. It gives you some breathing room for your minimum payment so you can pay above and beyond. What is the name of that program again? It's going to be called something different between every banking institution or whatever you get the credit card through. So I want you to call and say, do you have a hardship program, or can I speak to like a personal financial advocate or advisor? These are some of the words you will use if I'm experiencing hardship and cannot pay my credit card minimum payment. That's what you'll say. You'll get on the phone with customer service. Do you have a department for financial hardship or someone I can talk to for making payments if I can't, blah, 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 blah. And when you go on the phone with them, tell them you are looking for, you don't want any other system, any other setup. I want it to where there is a program where you drop my credit score, you drop my interest rate, 3%, freeze my credit card because I don't need to be using it anyway. That's why I'm in this situation I am in temporarily for the next 12 months. And that gives me leeway to afford minimum payments plus putting extra towards principal. Will this affect your credit score? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. One of the things, and that's what I just said, but when you are in debt repayment mode, one thing I always advise, you shouldn't be buying anything. You shouldn't be taking out more credit. This is not the time to be buying a home. This is not the time to be doing all this other stuff, right? You are focused on paying off debt. So at this time, essentially your credit score doesn't quote unquote matter. Meaning, if you're in this part, if chapter 4 is where you are at in your financial journey, you need to be focusing on increasing your income, decreasing your expenses, putting any extra cash towards debt, right? And finding ways to decrease the amount of money you pay over time in interest on that debt, right? Yes, this will affect your credit score because they're freezing it, meaning that you will go down to a zero available balance. So on your credit score, it will look like as if you maxed out the credit card. It will temporarily look like you've maxed out the credit card. However, as you continue to pay down the debt or pay down the credit card balance and keep going, it will start to look like you have an available balance, although it is frozen. You will start showing an available balance, but it'll be frozen for 12 months. So that is not time to say, okay, it's time to go shopping because I got money on a card. No, we are using this program to get disciplined with the credit card, but also to pay down this debt fast. It is not the time to start accumulating stuff, right? So essentially, it quite possibly can negatively affect your credit score temporarily. After the 12 months, the freeze is up. Your credit score and the credit bureaus will see the available balance on your credit card. Your credit utilization rate on that card will go down, and your credit score will go back up. Does that make sense, Joyce? Crystal says this works in the healthcare medical bills too. Ask for the financial hardship form. Yes. Yes. And I will do this on anything that you have, in all honesty. The only thing that I would say leery of is skipping a payment. Don't call your auto loan and say, can I skip a payment? Unless you need to, because the only thing they do is tack it on the end of your loan. You're not truly skipping a payment. They're just extending your loan 1 month out, right? But I want you to get into a place where we get kind of crafty about creating our financial plan in order to pay down that debt. All right? Give me a 2 in the comments if that makes sense. Let's go to choosing the pay down plan in the debt repayment. And I'm going to spend some time on this because I know a lot of people have questions about debt repayment. So you can do 2 ways. Well, actually 3. You can do the debt snowball. You can do the debt avalanche, or you could do a combination of both. And I'm loving the 2s. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad y'all are picking up what I am putting down. You can do the debt snowball. So if anybody are taking notes, we are on page 107 through like 110. That's where she talks about the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche. So the debt snowball is where you will list all of your debts from smallest to largest based on the amount that's owed. So not the minimum payment amount, but the total amount of debt, right? So if you have one credit card with a $2,000 balance, that might be first. And then if you have a medical bill that's $2,800, that might be line item two. And again, I dropped my planner. You can write it again in your financial planner on this page. So, like, you can write the smallest to largest, right? Or you can do what is called the debt avalanche, where it goes from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. So you will write your credit card with the highest interest rate, regardless of the minimum payment, regardless of the total balance, to the lowest, right? Now, hopefully, you take advantage of that quote unquote hardship program and create your budget to them in a way where it looks like you don't have much wiggle room. And I meant to tell you that the caveat in order to get approved is because you do have to provide proof of your income and also your expenses. Although with my last client, they just kind of took her word for it based on the paperwork. They didn't even verify her income or verify the expenses. But the goal is to make sure you write down enough expenses on there that you have to where your income minus your expenses is close to zero. So where it looks like, hey, this minimum payment that y'all are giving me right now at 28.8% is not financially doable. And that way they can drop that credit interest rate, not the credit score, the interest rate down to 3%. So that's a little caveat. Or you can do a combination of both of the debt avalanche and the debt snowball. And what I like to do is definitely when working with credit cards is definitely debt avalanche all the way, right? If I'm working with maybe a personal loan and student loans that have a very similar interest rate, about 6%, one might be 6.5, one might be 6.2, I might want to get those quick wins. Or medical debt, right? It might not have any interest, but it feels good to check off a line item on your page if that gives you momentum. Sorry, it's kind of getting washed out here. You can write that at the top, right? You get to decide how and when and where and why you choose your debt repayment plan. There's no bad way. The only bad thing to do when it comes to paying off debt is to not pay it. It's to dig your head in the sand and avoid it, right? That is the only way that you will get a 0 out of 10 in my book. If you write down a plan and you say, these are the steps that I'm going to take, this is what feels good to me, this debt stresses me out, so I'm going to work on it first, I don't care about the interest rate, that is fine. No financial advisor is going to tell you to never pay off debt based on your emotions, because your emotions are tied to this as well. Give me a 3 in the comments if that makes sense. Again, now it's more advantageous, again, to get them high interest rates down by any means possible. But I also want you to take into account your emotions. Take into account how you feel. Take into account on when you look at that debt. I want you to get rid of that debt that gives you the most anxiety first, right? Most of the time, it's not our student loans. Most of the time, it's not a personal loan. A lot of the times, it's the credit card debt, right? So tackle it by any means necessary. Get rid of them, okay? Then she goes on for the fourth thing in chapter 4, which is to automate the pay down plan. Now, if y'all been to any workshop or anything of mine, I talk about how in your budget, you should have some giving, you should have some savings, you should have money allocated to your monthly bills and to your financial goal. So when you create that budget, like we talked about in step number 2, there better be a line item that shows your extra debt payment, that shows how much you're going to put at least that month towards that debt extra. That is how you're going to start paying down your debt. And like she says, digging yourself out of debt. You actually have to put money to the side extra in order to get it down fast above and beyond the minimum payment. Yes, we're going to take advantage of hardship programs from the credit cards to get, or medical bills like Crystal, I think, is the one who shared that with us. Yes, we're going to get the payment down. But we're not going to say, oh, the payment's down. Now I can relax and spend on it. I got nope. Mm-mm. Now I got extra money in my account or in my budget each month. I can go on a trip. No. We are temporarily sacrificing some of the things that we want to get good with money. Give me a 4 in the comments if that makes sense. And so if you have to automate how much you put towards that debt each month, go ahead and do it. If every 2 weeks you need to automate $250 to go towards that Amex or $250 to go towards that medical bill or that personal loan or that car loan above and beyond the minimum payment, that's what we're going to do. All right. Glenda Hayden raised her hand. Let's view. And I think you should be able to ask to unmute. Oops, sorry. I did not mean to do that for you, Brittany. If I did that.
My apologies. I was just trying to type in my 4. I don't have a question at
Okay,
this
no,
time.
no,
You're doing
okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Sounds good. Perfect. She's like, oh, my bad. I didn't have no questions yet. Perfect. All right. And again, we just went through some good stuff, but that does not take away some of the things that she talks about in that chapter. Make sure you read chapter 4. We're going to move on to chapter 5. Is there any questions about the debt one? About the debt chapter? Chapter 5 is pretty straightforward. Is it common for debt to feel like crash dieting? I just thought of a goal of paying off my house in years, but am backpedaling. So what should we work on? One credit card at a time. So is it common for debt repayment to feel like crash dieting? Yes, actually. I was talking about in a workshop that I was doing in 5 years. Okay, she wants to pay off her home in 5 years, but she feels like she's backpedaling. So I was talking to a group this past weekend. I actually had a workshop, an in-person workshop, and we were talking about ways to stick to your financial plan for the long run. And in our financial plan, we were setting it for a year at a time. And I talked about how our brain, if you study the brain and listen, like read things about the human brain, you will realize that Crystal said inserts toddler tantrum. And that's funny that she says that. If you understand the human brain, it is for daily processing. It is not the best for long-term thinking, long-term motivation, long-term discipline, long-term anything, right? That's why we're forgetful, especially as we get older. The more we put on our plate, the more overwhelmed we get because our brains are not designed to operate how we operate with it. Therefore, what do? You have to hack your brain and hack your lifestyle and do different things that keeps you on track, whether you feel like it or not, right? So there's a book that I usually have next to me. And of course I don't. I might have lent it out. It's a book called Atomic Habits. And it talks about how in order to stick to a habit, you have to create a lifestyle because if you're trying to get a certain result, you're going to separate from it eventually. So you got to make it a lifestyle. And so when Crystal is saying, hey, I have a 5-year financial goal, girl, you're going to number one have to break that down into a yearly goal. And then I'm gonna need you to break that down into a quarterly goal, and then a monthly goal, and then a dang near a weekly goal, because you are going to need to break it down to where your human brain can keep a hold of it for longer. Okay? That's why I always suggest to create yearly financial goals. But now after reading the book, The 12-Week Year, I am definitely all about quarterly goals now and then breaking them down into monthly and then weekly goals that you can hold on to. Okay. So if you know you want to pay off your house in 5 years, I'm going to need you to look at your amortization schedule. Get that from online if you haven't. And then I'm going to need you to say, okay, this is how much I need to pay off every year in order to get this down to 0 in 5 years. And then this is how much in 5 years I need to pay off each year. All right, how much do I need to pay off each quarter of that year? how much do I need to put in each month of that year in order to get to the quarterly goal, in order to get to the yearly goal, so I can get to a 5-year goal. And then I need you to break that down into weekly to where you know every time you get paid how much money should be going towards that mortgage. Don't focus on the 5-year goal. Don't focus on the 1-year goal. Don't focus on the quarterly goal. All you're focusing on is every time I get paid, this is how much I put extra on my mortgage. Somebody said, woo, I'm overwhelmed already. And I said that in the thing. I said, you're going to have to do the groundwork first, like do the front end work to calculate how much that is so you can get to know how much you need to focus on. What is that small number you need to focus on every week or every 2 weeks that gets you to that goal within the time frame you wanted to get to? If you try to just focus on a 5-year goal, girl, it's never gonna come. Dang near, if you focus on a yearly goal, it's not gonna come. Your brain is going to dissociate from it because it's not going to want to stick to something for that long. You need to have it to where you go from week to week. My goal is $250. My goal is $250 the next 2 weeks. My goal is $250 next 2 weeks. And then by the time you look up 5 years later, you're at zero because you calculated and went backwards to see how much you needed. Me packs a bag to move in with my mama, girl. So it says, so should we work on one credit card at a time? That is what I do. I put my credit cards in my student loan, auto loan, and I think I had one bill from a apartment complex where I broke the lease. This is back in 2012, so I'm trying to think. Yes, so I put them all in order, and even with my clients, I put them all in order. We decide on which goal we're going to tackle first, second, third, fourth, fifth. We pay the minimum payments on all the debts that require a minimum payment. If it don't require minimum payment, we just wait until we get there. And then we tackle the first debt. Any extra cash above and beyond that minimum payment that comes in goes straight to that first debt until that debt is paid off. And then we do the same thing with the second one. Same thing with the third one, fourth, fifth, and sixth. I am not the person who tells you to pay off 2 credit cards at the same time. In my mind, now your brain may work differently, but in my brain, that it doesn't give me a win soon enough. I need a win sooner than later. Okay. So I like to crush one debt at a time. Again, you maintain the minimum payments on everything, but oh no, we looking for them wins. We looking for zero balances, right? So whatever gets me to a zero balance on something faster, that's what I want, right? Give me a 3 in the comments if that makes sense. I love that. I love that little emoji. Give me a 3 in the comments. Perfect. Any other questions about debt? I knew that was going to be the highlight because, again, credit we kind of understand, right? Keep your credit utilization down on your credit cards and stuff like that. Don't open up too much stuff. Pay it off on time. Those are the 2 biggest things. But it's like, girl, how we get this debt out the way? And what I tell y'all break down y'all credit card debt into chunks. Into, okay, how much do I want to pay this year? And then how much do I want to pay this quarter? And then how much do I want to pay this month? And then how much do I need to pay every pay period? That is a game changer. Again, it takes a little bit of legwork at the front end, but then you're on autopilot. You can even automate, like she was talking about, your debt repayment plan. What's the difference between APR and interest rates? Again, the same thing. APR is annual percentage rate. That's another word for the interest rate that you're being charged for your credit card. It's the same thing. And she talks about that, how to calculate it if there's a debt that you have that you are unclear of your APR for credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, all of that is provided. But let's say if you can't find it for some weird reason, she gives you a calculation on page 90 where you can input your numbers and calculate your APR. She's so thorough in this book. I love it. Page 90, you can calculate your APR on any debt that you owe. Now, going to chapter 5, which is the credit chapter. She talks about this. I'm just trying to see how I want to address this. She talks about the 5 aspects of your credit score and what makes up your credit report or what makes up your credit score. But before that, I want you to understand that credit is a tool that you should utilize, not need. When you transfer from using credit as a financial tool to get ahead to something that you need to live off of because you don't have enough income to pay your bills, that is when you get into muddy waters. I know it sounds a bit weird to think about it that way because we're conditioned to say, oh, I have this credit card for emergencies. I know growing up, my parents always had a credit card that they designated for financial emergencies. That is a surefire way to get into credit card debt, right? You want to look at credit as it is a financial tool for me to leverage these different streams of credit versus this is what I'm using in order to extend my income or my purchasing power. You see how that is 2 different things. So, for example, if you take out a loan, a business loan, or a business line of credit, the goal is to take out that loan or that credit, make more money, use that money to make more money, have a business plan to where it's almost guaranteed that you make more money than you borrowed, pay that money back, and keep going to make profit in your business. That is a temporary financial tool. But if you look at credit and say, I just did my monthly budget and all of my expenses match my income, I don't have any cash left over at the end of the month, so I'm going to use my credit card to buy groceries. That is a surefire way to continue to get into credit card debt. We talked about last week that number one, you need to have an emergency fund for those months that get tight. Number two, you should be looking at your budget and saying, okay, my income is 3,000 this month, my expenses are 3,000. I got to make something shake. I need to increase my income or decrease my expenses or both. The goal is not to think about a personal loan. The goal is not to think about cash advance payday loan, borrowing from your Cash App bank, Klarna, Zelle, Afterpay, putting it on your credit card. That is not the idea. The idea is not even to dig into your savings account unless it's a true financial emergency. The idea, Casey said, I feel attacked. The goal is to get to a place where it says, this budget is a little too tight for me. How can I increase my income? How can I decrease my expenses without touching my emergency fund savings account, without touching that credit card I'm paying down, and without borrowing more money? So Crystal said, first target last week, then this target, girl. Right. I'm coming for your Afterpay. I'm coming for your Klarna. I'm coming for you borrowing that little $200 on Cash App. I already know all y'all tricks. I already know all y'all little loophole. Chime app. I done heard about that one too. Affirm got me in a chokehold. Not my Klarna. Y'all are hilarious. Not the Klarna. Mind your business, sis. Mind your business. But that is a mindset shift we have to get into. When it comes to buying a home and you get a mortgage, the goal is to get a mortgage. And for those of us who are homeowners in the chat, you will realize that the equity in your home builds pretty fast. Real estate is a great wealth building tool. Although on paper, you will have a mortgage that's technically debt, but also you will have equity in your home that grows. When you get a student loan, right? You're increasing your worth in the marketplace by going to college with the hopes of paying that back, right? When you get a mortgage, you're temporarily getting money to buy this home to where you can build your real estate portfolio, whether it's just one house and that's all you're going to live in, or if you move on to buy some more properties. Your goal is to pay it back so you can just move forward and keep building equity and keep building a profit, right? That's the goal. But when you get into credit card debt, personal loan, this loan, that loan, and the goal is not to increase your income, you're no longer using it as a financial tool. What's the solution when you are trying to build your savings account and boom, it blows and have to dip into your savings too soon? Excuse me. Sorry, burping. Y'all know I'm pregnant. That's part of the package tonight, okay? Oh, tire blows. Boom, a tire blows. So this is how I look at it. It's January. I done created my budget, which did not include a blown tire, right? Because you wasn't anticipating that. I got money. I put aside my $300 this month, let's say, in savings. I'm moving along into my financial plan, and then my tire blows. All right, I already did my budget for the month. I don't have anything extra allocated. My extra income went to my savings because my first goal, financial goal right now, is building my savings. Okay, what do? I sit down and I say, okay, you take it to the shop and they're like, oh girl, that's $300 that you need. You like, dang, I got $300 on a credit card. I got $300 in my savings account. Okay, all right. What I will do, because I use my car to get to work, back and forth to work, picking my kids up to and from school, right? Well, not back and forth to work, but speaking engagements, y'all know. But if this is somebody like you, back and forth to work, picking your kids up, I would use the $300 that I have in my savings to get that tire fixed immediately. I would not use my credit card because you're gonna run the risk of having to pay interest on that $300 eventually. Then what I would do is I would sit down while I'm at the body shop. You hear me? While they putting the tire on my car, I'm like, how can I make this $300 back by the next 2 weeks to get that money back into my account immediately? And more than that, if that's the case, I'm paying myself back immediately. Immediately. So now I'm like, what can I increase? What can I decrease in my budget? So I'm getting on my budget. Remember, your financial planner is here. It has 12 months of monthly budgets where you can write them down. So I'll be up in there while they putting this tire on my car. I'm gonna be like, all right, so what haven't I paid yet that I allocated money for that I cannot pay? Okay, I might not buy $300 in groceries this month because I can do a pantry challenge and eat out of my pantry. And then I can restock my house next month with a grocery budget. Okay, little John, I know I told him he can go to that football camp, but that ain't happening no more, not this month. We could try, let me find him a free football camp that they do at the local whatever, but we ain't gonna have that this month. Mm-mm. I was supposed to go on a trip in July, and I was saving for that. And I did put aside $300 every month to where by July we can go to Costa Rica. But this month I'm not saving for Costa Rica. I'm putting it towards my savings account. You'll find when you get into that mindset of like Crystal said, I'm leaving here with something. Seriously. When you get into that mindset of I'm not leaving the table until I figure out a strategy on how to put this money back, watch you figure out how to put that money back. When you look at your budget each month and say, I gotta figure out not little John and no trip, right? Oh, now you playing games, right? I gotta figure out, okay, I can't go on that trip that I was gonna go to, that girl's trip for my birthday, because the tire blew. Life happens. You're an adult. Somebody put in their adults in this ghetto. It is. It is. Sometimes you gotta make hard decisions. For the sake of you incorporated, you got to look at yourself as a business, and you have to take the emotion out of it and say, okay, putting little John in football is not advantageous for the bottom line of this company of you incorporated. Putting yourself in a situation where you go out of town and you spend an extra money when you could have been putting that in savings is not the best thing for you incorporated, right? Casey said, I'm quick to donate plasma when times are rough. Listen, you sit down and you say, how can I increase my income and decrease my expenses? You start putting stuff on the table. All of a sudden, shit start looking real good on the weekends. All of a sudden, babysitting your sister's kids start looking real nice when it helps you build your savings account faster, right? All of a sudden, running a special in your business every weekend and get over not selling because you don't want to be too salesy, but Amazon be all up in your inbox 5 times a day, and you ain't telling Amazon they too salesy, but you don't want to sell your own products and services so you can get out of debt. It ain't being too salesy if you're a business. Sell your stuff. Look around. What you not using? Sell something. Create something. You always cooking for somebody. Girl, you better sell them cakes. Somebody said, listen, I'm gonna need you to come through this screen. Clap, clap, clap. I'm serious, right? You are the head of You Incorporated. You have to be logical and less emotional about making these financial decisions. That's the only way you're gonna get good with money. That is the only way. And it causes us sometimes to make hard decisions, just like the CEO of Target, just like Starbucks, just like insert your favorite store, insert your favorite brand. They have to make hard decisions, and so do you. There are times where you have to say no to your kids when they asking for Cash App requests to buy Roblox and V-Bucks and all this other stuff. No. One thing that I do, I don't care how much money I make. I've doubled my income from last year to this year. And my daughter is like talking about school dances. Since she was young, whenever those recreational things at school come up, I always had a list of family members that she can go to and ask for either the money, like split it up, how much she needs, and ask for the money, or can I work to do something in order to get it? That still stands. Last year, these past 2 years, she went to homecoming. In order to get her dress, her shoes, her hair, her purse, and her accessories, and a ticket, I have her sit down and write what's the budget. So, like, let's say if it's $300 she needs in order to get all that stuff, I'm like, all right, divide that by 6. And now go to your list of your village. I tell her she has a village. I am not the only one who's about to keep putting out money for this child. I'm not the only one. First of all, my parents and my daughter's grandparents, and my parents, oh, TT baby this and granny baby that. Okay, well, let's divide this $300 by 6. All right, so I'll be like, all right, Taryn, $300 divided by 6 people, that's $50. Go ask Nana. Go ask Papa, go ask my mom, my dad, go ask your 2 uncles who always sending you money for random stuff. Go ask your auntie. Everybody, what can you do to earn $50 from them? 9 times out of 10, they just give it to her because they know she's going to homecoming. And there's her homecoming money. It doesn't come out of my budget. So if you're not good at saying no to your kids, give them opportunities to rely on somebody else. Right? There are times my daughter be like, Mom, I need momsy. Two of my kids, they're my bonus children, so they call me momsy. I need this, I need that. You got Nana, you got your daddy, you got you got your other side of the parents. Some of y'all got 3 sets of, in this bit of family, y'all got 3 sets of grandparents out here. You got these aunties and uncles that swear you TT baby, right? Y'all better get to working for them. Get to working for them. Bat your eye. Maybe they'll give you a lot for a little. I don't know. But you better get on the good foot because it's not coming out of my budget. Tiffany said, I love that for those of you who are parents. So while taking notes, because these kids stay in my pocket, girl. I love this. Use your village. Yep. Don't let these kids run you dry. And when they ask you for something in the middle of the month, if you've already set your budget, just let them know. Use that language. So when they're older, they can use that language. Hey, I've already allocated all my income to my anticipated expenses this month. Do you want to see? Okay, let's sit down. Well, I had to pay $500 put aside for groceries, and then I had to pay for our insurance policies. And remember, you still need your teeth cleaning, so there's a copay on that. Like, run it down to them so they can see why you're not giving them $25 for V-Bucks this month. It's not that I don't have it. Oh no, mommy's not broke. Mommy's just not giving it to you. I need you to understand that. Mommy got to put gas in the car, right? Oh, I got the money. I'm just not giving it to you. I got McDonald's money. Don't get it twisted. You see mommy go to work every day. I got McDonald's money. You just don't got McDonald's money. Okay? So then that way they can create boundaries with their children so their children don't run them dry. Because remember, our kids are going to be adults a lot longer than they're going to be kids. And this is their training ground. Your house is their training ground. So you got to teach them not only to respect your boundaries, your financial boundaries as their parent, but teach them how to establish some so when their kids get older and start begging that they have some financial boundaries with their own children, right? You know, grandparents, them boundaries go out the window. All of a sudden, grandparents got McDonald's money every time they see their grandkids. Girl, you better capitalize on that. Look, my kids don't need McDonald's, but they do need some more socks. Or JJ, he needs some cleats for football. Can you help me with that? Ask your village ahead of time. Hey, I know Taryn goes to track every summer. She runs for GR Fire. She needs a uniform. It costs $400, I think. 150, 300, $600 for the season. And that's not including getting into entry. But my thing is, it's like, all right, I tell my village, hey, Taryn's summer track is coming up. It's $600. If anybody wants to put any money towards it, please let me know. I start asking that in April and March and April. So by the time June come, I have all the money if anybody's going to give me money towards it. Most of the times they do, sometimes they don't, depending on who has what, right? There's no shame in my game. I'm not going to be the only one raising this kid, right? Especially when y'all be swearing up and down, that's TT baby, that's grandma baby. Oh, okay. Well, grandma baby needs to pay for this bill for track club, right? So, woo, a word. Those 17 years of childhood went quick, right? Right? Out here. We out here paying bills. What's 17? What's 17-year-old? Right? So we talked about the credit score. Remember to read the chapter. It is good. It is good. Well, let's talk about increasing our income really quick. Chapter 6. Earn to learn. Learn to earn. Increase your income. With that mindset, each and every month, maximize, so it says to do, maximize your earning potential at work, assess your skills, decide on which of these skills you can monetize, put a number on it. What is my potential income, my income potential? This is chapter 6 if I didn't say that. Learn how to increase your pay and have more than one source of income. Give me a 1 in the comments if you have more than one source of income. Give me a 2 in a comment if not yet. It's not a no. 2 is not a no. 2 is a not yet. 2 is a not yet because sis about to start. Okay? I love that. I love that. I'm seeing a lot of 1s and 2s. Yep. You know what you got to work on. And this one you're going to work on simultaneously. So somebody said 1.5, they have contract work. It might not be super consistent or, amount that you can actually bank on, but it's something. I like that. This is a chapter that you're going to work on while you're working your other financial plan. Like I said, when you're trying to quickly put money and build up your emergency fund so you can move on and pay off debt, you're not really going to be paying off debt and doing that. You're going to be paying your minimum payments on your debts until you get your emergency fund where you want it. Then you can move on to paying off your debt, any extra cash. While you're doing these financial goals every month, like I said, that mindset shift every month when you create your budget, I want you to be thinking about, how can I increase my income? How can I increase my income? Remember, you're the CEO of your incorporated and the CFO. Okay. So when you are sitting down every month doing your budget, you got to think of it as like a business check-in with yourself, saying, okay, what are our numbers this month? Oh, we're kind of tight. We got a $3,500 income this month and our bills are $3,400. That's $100 left over. While that's great, we're not in the negative. We need to get this better. How can I decrease my expenses? How can I increase my income? All right. And so in chapter 6, she talks about ways to increase your income. One thing that I wanted to point out is on page 156. It says, enhance or expand your skills. Look for ways that you can get better at your current job. This might mean attending a conference for professional development or taking a class to broaden your view of your industry. This could even mean getting some type of certification or even an advanced degree. What you're looking for is anything that enables you to go back to your employer and say, I'm even more qualified now. Oftentimes, when we talk about increasing our income, we don't think about our 9 to 5. We just think of, okay, that's the amount of money that I have set that I'm making as far as my income stream number one. But in reality, that can be the biggest way and the quickest way you can increase your income. So when I was working, I'm just going to give you a quick example. Here's like a trajectory of like my college, from college to adulthood. So I worked at the gift shop downtown at Spectrum Health when it was Spectrum Health before Corewell Health here in Grand Rapids. And I worked there part-time during the school year, full-time during the summer. Now, once I start getting closer to graduation, and I was going to school for biology pre-med at the time, I needed direct patient care hours in order to get into med school. That's what I thought I was going to go for. So I applied to become a nurse tech, which is like a nursing assistant or nurse tech. It's almost like a CNA, but they train you at the hospital that you're working at. So it's not like you can go just anywhere. A certified nursing assistant can go anywhere. A nurse tech or nurse assistant, if you get trained at Spectrum, you stay at Spectrum, right? So I worked there. So I increased my income from going from the gift shop to going as a nurse tech. And then once I graduated, my daughter was still young. I did not go to medical school because she was still so young and her dad wasn't in her life. And I'm just like, I can't commit to me not being in her life by taking on medical school, you know. So I ended up working at Amway and I worked in research and design, used my biology degree to become a quality engineer in research and design. So I was like in the lab part-time, working with the FDA on some of their products that had active ingredients. Now, when I got hired in, I made maybe $20 an hour. And this was in 2014. Yeah, this was in 2014, or maybe 13 or 14, one of those. I made $20 an hour. So I went from making like 14 an hour at Spectrum to $20 an hour, right? Key number one, in order to substantially increase your income, a lot of times you have to move to a different company with a different position that has a set salary. That's where you want it to be. Oftentimes, when you are at a position, they have a salary range or a amount range that they're willing to pay you for that position. And if you reach the maximum, they're going to 50 cent and dollar, nickel and dime you to death every time you get a what do you call that? A review. Oh, you got a 50 cent pay raise. That ain't enough, right? So in order for me to increase my income per hour substantially, I had to move to a different job and move to a different company. Okay. So that was number one. So then when I got there, I was making $20 an hour for the job description that they gave me. Pretty soon I created a way. So the first thing that I did was I created a way to do my job description faster and more efficient by still being good and still being excellent in my position, but faster so I can start doing a little bit more and showing my upline that I can take on more. That was my game plan. And so within 6 months, I was able to not only do what I was hired to do, but I started working with the FDA and doing the reports for the FDA and learned that. That gave me a $9 an hour pay raise, not 50 cents, nine, not a dollar, $9 an hour pay raise, $9 an hour extra. So I was like, okay, but I had to do it first before they seen the work, right? So I had to kind of qualify myself, enhance my skills at the company in order to go back and say, hey, I deserve more money because my job description has changed. And so if you take that mindset into your workplace or into the marketplace as a whole, so if you are in DEI and your current position at Corewell Health only maxes out at $22 an hour and you're at 21, 22 right now, do you think they're going to give you a $9 pay raise, an $8 pay raise, a $10 pay raise, a $20 pay raise? No. You're going to have to look for a DEI position who's hiring at a higher price point at a different company. And I know y'all love y'all coworkers, and I know you love your work environment. And you know, there's some people even say it's the devil, you know, like I know this devil. I don't know what I'm walking into at a different company, a different culture, and blah, blah, blah. But you are the CEO of You Incorporated. And so if you want to continue to substantially increase your income, you got to put your big girl panties on and say, hey, I got to go. I gave y'all long enough. I negotiated pay raise. Y'all said no. Y'all trying to only give me $1. What is it? Trinity Health. If you work for Corewell Health, Trinity Health is giving me $10 extra an hour. What y'all trying to do? Right? What we trying to do? They might tell you to go on with Trinity. Okay, cool. Or no, we'll match that. Yeah. It's good to know your company's compensation philosophy and the pay band for your position. Exactly. If you've never inquired, you can absolutely go to HR and ask, what is the max amount this company pays for my current position? And you'll be able to compare it between where you are now and where you're going to go. That is the reason why I said, okay, I'm not working in a hospital anymore, because mine maxed out at $15 an hour for that, and I was at $14. Krista says some companies pay for degrees and others for experience. Yep. My sister works for Corewell Health. She's in the IT department, right? If she gets a certification, if she wants to get a certification to up her skills in order to become, now, I've heard these terms, but I don't know what it means, a scrum master or be on this software engineer or this or that, they will actually pay for her to get the certification, for her to be able to go up in salary. They will pay for it, but she had to inquire and ask, hey, what do you pay for? Do you provide any of these things? Are these in the online portal already that you offer us? There's another thing on Google. If you go to your local library, if you go on Google, there are so many different programs and certifications that are online right now that are free. GRCC has it to where in-state students, you know, in-city students get paid for, you don't have to pay tuition for certifications and different things like that. You might be able to take something online through GRCC and get it totally paid for free. Take it back to your company and say, hey, I got certified for this. I want to apply for a different position. Give me a 4 in the chat if y'all picking up what I'm putting down. So I want y'all to take this information and apply it to your industry, into your field. If you are in business for yourself, how can you get better? How can you be more efficient at baking cakes? How can you go above and beyond? What your current audience is looking for? How can you get better at that? Is it selling? Is it social media? Is it whatever it is? I mean, employers compensate based on your degree, yes. And certifications and years of experience. And sometimes, you know what they say? The squeaky oil gets the wheel. That in my almost 36 years of living, I'm starting to realize how true that is. If you are that type of person who flies under the radar, who don't like to ruffle feathers, who do not like to ask for what you want or need. And you're just like, well, they'll get to me eventually. I'll just sit right here and keep doing fighting the good fight. Eventually it'll come to me. Good luck with that. The squeaky oil gets the wheel. Crystal just said, a closed mouth don't get fed. The Bible says, seek and you shall find, ask and it shall be given to you. Not keep your mouth closed, write it on your prayer board, and then don't ever say anything. Definitely pray about it. Pray for God to go before you and change the hearts and opens the hearts and minds of those you're about to talk to tomorrow because you're talking to them, right? You setting a meeting, right? But don't just allow life to happen to you. You happen to life, right? You get to decide how much your income is. You get to decide how many streams of income you get to have. You get to decide how many certifications you're going to have, what your income is. And if one company is not aligned with what you've decided for you, you go to one that is, right? That's just like in relationships. When a man is not aligned, when you're dating, if a man is not aligned with the lifestyle you desire, go to another one. Like I tell my girls group all the time, my young ladies, they ain't stop making men when they made that one. They ain't stop making them jobs when they made yours. They ain't stop making job positions when they made that one that you in. Right? Closed mouths don't get fed. Let's talk about chapter 6. And again, or sorry, 7. But remember to read chapter 6, all right? Chapter 7 is about retirement and wealth. I really love this one too. I am 36 years old. I don't know why I think I'm super young. I need to get better at the retirement and wealth part of my financial planning. I'm not going to hold you. And I'm excited about this chapter. And I do invest in retirement. So I have a SEP IRA, which is for small businesses who are like one person, two people in your business. You can get a specialized IRA plan for your small business and be able to save money for retirement. But if you have a 401k, 403b, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, SEP IRA, right? Any of those long-term investment vehicles for retirement, that is a great start because if no one ever told you, sis, you're going to get old one day and your current self has to hold your future self down. You hear me? You have to hold your current self down. You have to hold your future self down. And so it would behoove you if you have not contributed or start contributing or contributed enough, depending on your age, you got to start doing that sooner rather than later because you are going to get older one day. Unless you pass away, you're going to get older one day. Nobody is planning on passing away. We should be hedging our bets on living to be 80, 90, 100 years old, right? I'm letting you know right now, I'm caregiving for my grandmother. My grandmother is 86 years old. Her children, she had 5 boys. She has 3 boys living now. 2 of them are passed away. 3 are living, but 1 is estranged from the family, has been estranged. So basically, she has 2 sons. One of those sons is my dad, and the other son is one of my uncles. And my uncle does not work. He lives with her. Like, if she didn't save and have a retirement plan and try to live off what my uncle could provide for her, girl, good luck. Now, my dad works. My dad has great income, but my dad also has, I'm his youngest, which is 36 years old. So imagine my dad having children. He has 6 children. He has a ton of grandchildren. He has great grandchildren now by my other older siblings. And he is trying to leave a legacy for us. Imagine if he had to use all of his working income to not only take care of his household and his children, grandchildren, everything like that, great-grandchildren, leave a legacy for his retirement, but also take care of his mother, right? That is a lot on him financially. Does that make sense? And so how does that translate? Not only are we going to get older, But our kids, when we get older, are going to be in working age with their own families, their own financial goals, their own situations, whether they might be homeless, whether they might be jobless, whether they might be multimillionaires. We don't know what our kids will and won't be. So we don't need to be banking on whether or not our kids can support us and retire when we retire. Right? If you want to make sure you have the lifestyle you desire until the day you die, it will behoove you to put money to the side now and not later. Right? That is the way I look at retirement. This is me making sure I have money later because you can't count on anybody but yourself. It sounds good, but in reality, we don't know. There's a lot of parents who outlive their children, unfortunately. There's a lot of parents whose children choose a path that they did not train them up to go on, and you have to let them do that path. But you still have to live your life, pay your mortgage, or if your house is paid off, pay your utilities and your rent and fix stuff and everything else. Pay for groceries and food. You still have a life to live past retirement age. Pay medical bills, co-pays, all of that stuff. I'm caregiving for my grandmother. I never thought about this, but yes, she goes to the doctor quite often because a lot of times your body starts to fail as you get to a certain age, right? It's just like when you're young, when you're a baby, taking them for ear infections and this and that, and then it kind of goes away. And then once you get to old age, I'm starting to see, okay, a lot of those ailments come back. She's having skin issues, skin breakdown. She's getting slower. She needs physical therapy. She needs occupational therapy. Okay, her eyes, she needs her eyes checked, right? There's certain things going on with her body that she needs help with. And so she has to go back and forth to the doctor, and those are co-pays because she has Medicare and she has a certain amount of assets. It don't get paid 100%, so she has a co-pay. That comes out of her account, but she's shored up well. So well she can handle that. Her social security is only like $2,300. It's not much. But she shored up herself for retirement to where now she can live how she wants to live and her house is paid off. Give me a 5 in the comments if that makes sense. I love it. One thing she talks about in this chapter, I love that she talks about, again, it's more than just sticking your hand in the sand and just saying, well, I'll put $25 a month, I'll put $50 a month, I'll put 10%, I'll put 2%, I'll put 5%. Do the work first. Do the calculation first so you will know how much you have later, right? Front load the work and just automate it. She talks about on page 175, determine how much you need to save for retirement. For everybody, that's going to look different, okay? I want you to get a hold to a number. Once you retire, how much money do you want in your retirement account? Across your retirement accounts, your investments accounts, all of that, right? And do a calculation. She walks you through how to do that. She talks about the FIRE movement. She talks about naturally receding expenses, determining your contribution amount to each of these items. Like, this is a great chapter to sit down and think about. Great chapter. She talks about compound interest and how when you are using the IRAs, the 401k, your 403b, all these different vehicles for retirement, how you're using compound interest to grow your money. So you're putting in a certain amount of money, but because that retirement company is using your money in the stock market, it gives you a percentage back in order for you to grow your money above and beyond what you put into it. Okay. She gives you a couple of hacks on page 181. Like number 1, capitalizing on your jobs match and profit share programs. Hack number 2, make your retirement goal to have 25 times your expenses versus income. Okay. Hack number 3, make your retirement goal to have 12 times your income instead of 25 times your income. Hack number 4, increase your savings rate by making more. Hack number 5, utilize a Roth IRA if you are eligible for one. Hack number 6, invest in a lower annual percentage of your income for retirement. Um, Hack number 7, consider your retirement package being offered when choosing an employer. So she's basically saying, as you look for a new position or transfer to a different company, ask them about their retirement plan in the interview process. What does that look like? What is your match? So if you're down to two companies that are really good, right? Let's say if you're working for Corewell Health and Trinity Health here in Grand Rapids, and one has an employee match of 12% and one has an employee match of 4%, go with the 12% one, right? Like if the money is similar and the culture and the environment and the hours is similar, go a step further, ask for their retirement plan and what you get in retirement and what is that match. Girl, if one say we match up to 10% and one say we match 4%, get that free money for retirement, right? I love that hack. All right. So I'm done talking. In this chapter, she talks about Roth IRAs versus traditional IRAs, mixing investments, investing in the stock market, all that good stuff. But I want to hear your questions. So if anybody has any questions, we're going to take like the last 10 minutes to talk or to answer any questions or any thoughts that you might have, anything like that. So what I need to do is I need to do that and ask. Oh no, I gotta go here. I'm like, where do I go? What are different types of investments? So it says ask all to unmute. So if you want to unmute, you can. And I believe a lot of participants unmute themselves. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Ask all to unmute. Okay. If I messed that up, hopefully I just reversed it. So definitely read chapter 7 if you have not, KM225, because she goes over that in full detail. But I mean, the investments are endless. Again, you can do the retirement plans, you can do real estate, you can do the different cryptocurrencies right now, you can do the stock market where you do daily options trading, you can do NFTs, ETFs, just stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You could do certificate of deposits depending on the season of, the market and the timing of the market. Some years and times of year more than others. Certificate of deposits have higher rates of returns. Girl, the opportunities are endless to create to find the different types of investments you can do. You can even look at different insurance policies. And again, I'm not an insurance advisor, so I can't give investment and insurance advice. You have to be certified in order to do that. So this is not financial advice for investments and certification. Let me just put that disclaimer out there right now. However, there are great ways to capitalize on annuities, on life insurance policies, on whole life, on totally different things. It all depends on what situation you're in, how much money you have set aside to go into the investment, how much time you have to let the investment grow. But the opportunities are endless, endless. So they talk a lot about investments in the author's Facebook group. Yes, in the Dream Chasers Facebook group. So good. Absolutely a good group. We talked about that last week. Could get into Facebook groups. That one is a really good one. My pleasure. KM225. My pleasure. Feel free to drop your questions and or come off of mute and ask your questions. I'm here to 8:30, so about 7 more minutes. But I hope y'all are realizing that this book is very thorough and a tool for you to keep digging into. We talked about last week, me and Tanya. Tanya is one of the leadership team members at 1,000 Families of Color. How every year we are picking up this book, going back, making sure, okay, are we on point? Are we missing anything? Do we need to add something to our financial plan? Do we need to take something away? Is this something that we've kind of, like how I was talking to Crystal about how we kind of dropped the ball on some things and now we need to get recommitted again. Like, this is a good book. A lot of women in there say to invest where you spend your money. Yes. Yes. Because a lot of us Black women invest and spend our money, or sorry, spend our money in the same places. And so 9 times out of 10, those stocks are shored up because we have a very high purchasing power in the marketplace. So if you think about where you like to shop, those brands, those companies that you be keeping money in their pocket, 9 times out of 10, they got a great stock portfolio to match it if they are a publicly traded company. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas? If not, we have session 3 next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to go through the rest of the book. So make sure you are keeping up and reading and writing in it. We are still have copies of both of these books. So if you are in the Grand Rapids area and want your free copies, you can still go pick them up at 618 Jefferson between the hours of 6:30 to what is it, 6:30 to 12:30 or something like that, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's in the portal and also in your email what the hours are. Remember that you have a due date tracker in your planner, so you can write down when your expenses are due, your income coming in, tracking the monthly expenses. We talked about that last week. Making sure you understand when you're done with each category, creating your monthly budget. Again, you can do a digital spreadsheet, and I have the digital copy versions available on my website, but also you can do the physical one where you keep it with you and you are checking in with your budget and you're saying, okay, this is the year that I am going to pay down debt. I'm going to increase my savings. I'm going to increase my retirement. I'm going to get my credit score under control. All those things, you have the power to do it all right? So I thank you all for joining. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining and take care. I'll see y'all next week. My pleasure. Bye, y'all. You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a great week. Another great session. My pleasure. My pleasure. And remember, the link will be sent out to this, so rewatch it if you need some more motivation. Bye, y'all.